Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Fedor.
And I'm Ross.
And we come to you from cheapwatchreviews.com.
That's the website where we review cheap watches, despite what it might sound like.
Yeah, it really doesn't sound like we'd review cheap watches. It sounds like we'd review the ripeness of mangoes from Thailand.
Right, which right now, very ripe.
Very ripe. Good season for mangoes. But on a more serious note, today we're going to be looking at the Invicta 3045 Grand Diver automatic watch.
Let's go over some basics first. This obviously is a dive watch. I'll note that it's not a dive style watch. You actually could go diving with it. It has an automatic self-winding movement. It's in a polished and brushed stainless steel casing, and the bracelet is stainless steel as well.
So one of the things to note, like Ross mentioned, it has actually quite a nice bracelet at this price point, which I should mention retails for over $500 actually, but it can be found on Amazon or on our store for around $115, making it absolutely phenomenal deal. I guess I'll start talking about a few of the aesthetic features of the watch. As you can see, it has this beautiful blue face and a blue bezel around it as well. It is a 60 click bezel, right?
Yep.
And which feels pretty good. It feels solid. And then we have solid end links, which is kind of surprising for a watch at this price point. Screw down crown, and we have the fold over clasp with a machined actual mechanism, which is really unexpected for a watch of this price.
Right. Yeah, when you're looking at a watch, especially a watch that has some water resistance in the $100 range, you don't expect to get those things. The solid end links, the machined clasp, and so yeah, it's actually quite a nice clasp. As you'll probably notice, it's a fairly big watch. It's actually 52 millimeters, so big doesn't even start to describe it. Pretty thick too, 17 millimeters thick. And it's got a 22 millimeter thick bracelet, which actually is pretty standard for a lot of dive watches, and you would think might be small for the size of the case, but I'd say it's pretty well balanced.
Yeah, let's just do a quick comparison in size compared to the Invicta Pro Diver, which is supposed to be an around 43 millimeter case. You notice just how massive, absolutely massive the Grand Diver is. Because the one on the left is not a small watch, but the one on the right is just absolutely massive.
Right.
Actually, I'll go ahead and put it on. And then maybe we can talk, or Ross, you can talk about the accuracy of the movement and what the movement is.
Yep. So the watch uses, like I said, a self-winding automatic movement. It's an NH25A movement, which is actually a Seiko movement. Pretty impressive. Seiko has some really nice in-house movements that are pretty accurate. We noticed that it only gains or loses about 5 to 10 seconds a day, which for, again, a watch in the $100 range is pretty incredible. To talk a bit more about the aesthetics, you know, there's some things about it that are quite nice and some things about it that, quite frankly, we feel are a little cheesy. The design of the dial itself, you know, the sunburst blue is very striking. That's very nice, and kind of the dial style is very similar to the Rolex Submariner, with the applied indices and the lume and kind of the outline in chrome. The Cyclops on the date is kind of another thing borrowed from the Submariner, and that works pretty well too. And obviously there is a date complication. But there are some things that are kind of goofy. The little scuba diver that you see on the bracelet is a little weird. You see that again on the dial. And it's also, I believe, on the crown. There's like a little decoration there.
Yeah, see, I don't mind the one on the crown because you can't really see it that much. But the problem is on this end link, it just really jumps out because it could be a relatively classy watch. Right. But to me, it's just not my favorite aspect of the watch. The other thing that you'll notice with most Invictas is the engraving on the side of the case where we see, well, shockingly Invicta engraved on the side and Grand Diver engraved engraved on the crown side of the watch. Now, just the engraving to me makes it look like, what's that store called? Magical Moments or whatever, that you can take something in to get engraved.
Precious Moments.
Yeah, Precious Moments, whatever it is. I just think that that's one of my, I guess, least favorite features of the watch. Now, I'm going to talk a minute about what it's like to wear. You must be prepared that this is a very heavy watch. It comes in at well over 200 grams, and you'll know right away that you're wearing a substantial piece of steel on your wrist. But with that said, for something that's as large as this, like in a 50 millimeter range, it's actually relatively comfortable. But you have to be prepared that with this size, depending on your construction or of your own body, it can dig into your wrist a little bit when you try to bend it. But other than that, I honestly have no gripes with the comfort of this watch. It's, like I said, very substantial, water resistant, and yeah, the only thing we notice is that the lume is, I guess, typical Invicta, but it's definitely nowhere near Seiko standard.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as wearing it for me, the big thing I noticed is it's so heavy. My left arm is actually a little longer now. But yeah, getting back to it, there's some other nice features. The display case back, you'll notice that there is actually a slightly decorated rotor. So that's also, again, for a $100 watch, you know, a detail that you rarely ever see. So that's pretty cool. Overall, you know, the overall style, if you like kind of the more flamboyant, you know, really obvious kind of large, powerful looking watches, then you'll probably like this. If you're looking for something a little more versatile, something you can wear every day or maybe wear to a meeting, I can't imagine that fits underneath a cuff.
Yeah, it's in my experience, yeah, I didn't really even consider putting it on with a dress shirt because it's highly unlikely that it would fit under a cuff. But I mean, it does look pretty good. And for the price, quite frankly, how solid this watch feels is what really got me. So yeah, if you're looking for something in the $150 range, underneath that, for a big face watch, this one's pretty hard to beat.
I concur.
And I concur with me and with you.
I disagree.
I disagree as well. With that, we leave you to make your own decision. So go ahead and order up one of these watches, and we guarantee you that I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how solid it feels.